Hello, everybody. Hope this finds you all in good health, and welcome to Slow Blues in E on a chromatic harmonica tuned to the key of C. Before we get way into it, I want to tell you some of the assumptions I'm making about you as a harmonica player. Number one, you're a blues or a blues-oriented harp player. Number two, you most likely play mostly diatonic, and you also play some chromatic, and you might play chromatic really well. Assumption number three, when you play chromatic, when you're pulling out a chromatic tuned to the key of C, it's in a solo tuning, and you're actually playing in the key of D. And if you wanted to play in the key of E, you would use a chromatic tuned to the key of D. We'll get more into that later. Assumption number four, when you play your diatonic harps, you can play in at least three keys. So for example, if you're playing your diatonic tuned to the key of C, you're most likely actually to be playing in the key of G on that C-tuned diatonic. That's standard second position or cross position. Or there's a good chance that you may play it in the key of D. And you might even play your C-tuned diatonic in, believe it or not, the key of C. They are all work really well with blues. Assumption number five is when you're playing in the key of C or the key of G or the key of D on a diatonic harmonica tuned to the key of C, you play different stuff in each key. Each one has its own kind of idiom and character and vocabulary. And the final assumption is that doesn't bother you at all. In fact, you might see that more as a strength than as a weakness. So with those preliminaries out of the way, let's get down to business. Let's start off with giving ourselves a little alphabet just to get the ball rolling. And what we're going to learn is how to play these particular 5 notes on the chromatic harmonica. And it's called, the 5 notes are organized into what's called the E minor pentatonic scale. It works really great for blues, and let me play it for you right now. Now, I'm sure that's a sound that you all are intimately familiar with. The note names of those 5 notes are, in the order I played them, E, G, A, B, and D. So now that we know what it is, what our alphabet is for right now, and we've got that sound, we've got some note names to put to them, let's see how it maps on the chromatic harmonica. So one more assumption. It's very important. The chromatic harmonica that you're going to be attempting these lessons on is a standard solo-tuned chromatic harmonica. Now, chromatics, like diatonics, come in a lot of different tunings, but we're assuming that the one you're going to be using is A, in the key of C, and B is solo-tuned. That's the one that you get standard from pretty much any manufacturer. With that last assumption out of the way, let's learn how to map the E minor pentatonic scale to the C-tuned chromatic harmonica. Now, if you're playing an 8-hole, 10-hole, or 12-hole instrument, you can take these directions verbatim. And then for 16-hole, there's another little wrinkle that I'll deal with after I've mapped these out. It's actually the same hole numbers, but there's another issue to deal with. So on your instrument, again, if it's an 8, 10, or 12 hole, you start on the second to the leftmost hole. That is 2-hole. You'll see that on the cover plate. And 2-hole below gives you E. You move to the right 1 note to the 3-hole. 3-hole below gives you G. You stay on that 3-hole, but you draw to do a 3-hole draw, and you get the note A. You move up to the right, maintaining the same breath direction, 4-hole draw, and that gives you B. You then move up another hole to the right to the hole 5, and 5-hole draw, and that gives you the note D. Now, I said if you're a 16-hole player, there's a little wrinkle. If you look at the mouthpiece of most 16-hole chromatics, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they go 1 through 12. So the 2-hole we're talking about for you 16-holers is actually the sixth. It starts on the 6th hole from the left. That puts you in the same octave, the C4 octave that I'm doing the demonstrations in. Now, if you want, you can go down to the 2nd hole from the left. That also is a 2-hole blow. That also is an E, but it's an octave lower, and maybe you want to play there. I mean, it sounds cool. I actually prefer that octave, so it's kind of your choice. Now, we've learned the scale. We have learned the note name. Let's just do a little more to get familiar with that scale. So what's going to happen next? I'm going to play something. I'm going to give you a count in of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to play it back. So we get kind of a call and response happening. And all we're going to do is really just play the scale up and down. And we're going to try a few different, very basic rhythmic things with it, just to get our feet wet, get familiar with the scale. Scale in a shuffle rhythm. Your turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now some triplets. Now just play around with it for a few bars. So there you go, your first taste of how to play a blues in the key of E on a chromatic harmonica tuned to the key of C. We haven't even scratched the surface of what you can do with just these 5 notes played individually. And then there's all different ways we can play those notes together in different kinds of what I'll call double stops. So right now we just ran the scale up and down, and that actually sounded kind of cool. But there's so much more you can do with this. And the way we're going to present this in the episodes that are coming up is we're going to talk about sweet spots. I'm going to use this term over and over again, sweet spots. And what that means, a more technical definition would be mechanically facile areas of the instrument that allow us a lot of ease and flexibility and options in terms of musical expression. But sweet spot is a much more concise way of putting it. And it turns out that just this simple 5-note scale is itself just like one mega sweet spot. And then there are all these other little sweet spots in it. And so rather than giving you like scale exercises or arpeggios, something more formal like that, we're going to get directly into vocabulary, like phrases, and provide a few generalizations on how to think about a particular note layout and what that can, and start to understand what the possibilities of that are for you. Now, moving along, we're going to spend a good long time just using this E minor pentatonic scale because there's lots you can do with it. However, there are many other notes we can introduce that also sound really great. We're going to get into those later as well. So to give you kind of a foretaste of where this series ends up, I did this recording a couple years ago of me playing some kind of etude-like solos over in the key of E on a chromatic harmonica tuned to the key of C. So I just want to finish up with that so you can have a sense of where all of this stuff can lead. And so I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you come back for episode 2 where we will start getting into some of the sweet spots of the E minor pentatonic scale on the chromatic harmonica tuned to the key of C, playing a slow blues. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.